Welcome to the House of Draft Top Pod. We are here today on a very sad occasion, very sad Monday night. We're gonna get into it. Got a lot to say.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make any jokes.
Whew, man, that's a lot.
We have a good friend with us on the pod today. You have to make me look good. I am your podcast host, Noah Marano, in a very somber mood this Monday evening. Awaiting the playoffs with my co-host and producer, the man himself, the Slim Reaper from the Great Carolinas. You may not know him, but he did outscore Kyle Pitts this week. Tommy Tremble, tight end of the Carolina Panthers.
That's right. What a dog. Listen, I've got something to kind of lift the spirits a little bit. Let me put you on something I've been kind of bumping all weekend.
Okay. That got me in a better mood. So listen, we got our good friend of the pod joining us for the very first time, Mr. Ethan Cadore, the esports god.
Yep. The
Esports.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. It's a blast to be here.
Yes, very happy to have you. We'll get into why you're here in a little bit. But we're going to switch things up a little bit this week. We are back on video this week, so thank you guys for joining us on the YouTube stream. We appreciate you guys for hanging in there with us. 2025 is going to be a big year. Got a lot of stuff coming. We will be reviewing the playoffs every week. We are going to switch up the days a little bit, so we might not be dropping this episode on Tuesday next week, but we'll figure it out. We'll get it out to the socials. We'll get it to you guys by the end of the episode. But listen, we are back obviously to wrap up the NFL season. It has been a long and winding road. Not the Witch's Road. Don't play it.
I was about it.
It's been a long and winding road. It's been an interesting season, a fun season. Lots of things to talk about, but we are going to kind of restrict it because we're going to put out more episodes when it comes to the draft, when it comes to playoff implication, when it comes to the futures of teams. But no, I want to get right into what we're all waiting for, which is obviously my somber note of the Vikings ending their season. And then I'll throw the floor to you guys. We're gonna get right into ISOs. Ethan, since you're new here, we like to clear out for the other boys to really talk about their teams, really have a spotlight on themselves, to talk about their team specifically. So of course I am a Minnesota Vikings fan. I was not in a happy mood last night. I will say though, I have many thoughts. The biggest one being, and I'm gonna pull it up. My father, I was watching a little bit of this game with my father, and I had to leave, and I left at halftime. And he texted me something after maybe the second or third Lions touchdown in the second half. And it rings true. And I was thinking about this the other day as I was driving home, is that he texted me, there's always a better team. and that may sound stupid on the front end, but I'm going to explain that a little bit, break that down for people who aren't Vikings fans and aren't snake bitten like me, is that every single year we've had like a peak mountain. There's always just one team. And I'm not talking about like the team that kicks you out of the playoff. I'm not talking about the team that wins the Super Bowl. There's always just that one team that's having a more magical year than us. Yeah. Every single year. 1998. It's not the greatest example, but it's the first example. We go 15-1. Little did you know, the Falcons were 14-2 that year. Very good team. Get to the NFC Championship game up in Minnesota. My father is at this game. Gary Anderson, who hasn't missed a kick in 2 years, he's been a perfect kicker, misses the game-winning kick to go to the Super Bowl, to play a John Elway team who is on his way out. I think we would probably win that. Doesn't matter. Bad year. 2004, Culpepper has a magical season. Gets to the NFC Championship game. Gets absolutely wiped by a Giants team that nobody remembers. Yep. Not one. Do you remember that Giants team?
Not at all.
Yeah, and so I thought you probably couldn't even name me the starting quarterback.
What year?
I can't even name the starting quarterback.
What year?
2004.
Oh, I was 4.
We need Lucas. 2017, or actually 2009, Brett Favre, crazy year. Packers legend comes, plays for us. Doesn't matter. Saints are having a kick-ass year. Mm-hmm. Kill Brett Favre in the NFC Championship game, end our season. That's the one and only time I thought my father might have a heart attack from a Vikings game. 2017, Case Keenum, what the hell, comes out of nowhere.
Yep, balls out.
Doesn't matter. Eagles,
yeah.
Stupendous year. Yep. Start off 11-0.
Very great.
Wentz goes out. Nick Foles says, "Hold my dick." Goes to the Super Bowl.
And wins.
And absolutely drags Tom Brady through the dirt.
Yes.
And now we're to here. It's every few years, and now I'm just preparing myself because, I don't know how this season's going to end, but listen, we get these every few years, and then we fall off a cliff again. So, I'm not expecting next year to be great. But here we go. Magical season. Sam Darnold. Got a little bit of magic, got a little bit of health. Doesn't matter, man. It's just the Lions year. Yep. Like it just is. And unfortunately, I've been very tempered on my expectations all year. You know this with the Vikings. I feel like I've been really good compared to past years.
But then last week you were feeling yourself.
No, but listen. So I did.
feeling
So what did I tell you?
yourself
What did I tell you though? I said if we get the 1 seed, I will truly buy in.
Yeah.
I am in the back of my mind. There is going to be the little. We can still magically pull it off, but listen, it's a slim horizon line at the end of the road.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can get there now.
It's because this NFC is so stacked.
It's so stacked. We got to go through a tough Sean McVay, Matt Stafford-led Rams in LA, and then on top of that, we go to Detroit if we win that game. If Washington somehow doesn't pull it out, if the Packers somehow doesn't pull it out, we'll get into what our preview is, but I don't think they are. Listen, that game was the most frustrating game I've watched all season last night. It was just annoying because what did I tell you going in? I told you all last week on the pod too, is I thought our defense would be able to hold them for enough plays and they wouldn't be able to hold our offense.
Yeah.
Now, one of those rang true for a good. Listen, the defense did what they were supposed to. They got 2 turnovers. Should have had a pick 6, dropped another pick 6, and Harrison Smith got a turnover. The Lions had 2 fumbles magically bounce back into their arms. They did their job. Like, they held them to 10 points. And honestly, like, in the back of my mind, every time we scored a field goal, I was like, this is only going to last so long. You can't hold this offense down for 4 quarters like this. And it rang true because we went 0 for 5 in the red zone. Sam Darnold's just missing passes. Cam Akers gets down at the 5-yard line after busting a 50-yard run. Ivan Pace intercepts the ball on like the 10-yard line and falls at the 3.
Yeah.
It's just like bad luck after bad luck after bad luck. KOC wasn't calling his best game in the red zone, but I will say Sam Darnold, if you go back and look at the photos, there's photo evidence. Jordan Addison wide open.
Yeah.
Like
two
two times. He hit Hawkinson several times on big third downs, and Hawkinson just dropped the ball. That secondary was being absolutely physical. They weren't getting many calls all night. I know what you're looking up right now. And here's my problem with the Amik Robertson thing is because everybody was gawking this boy, especially Chris Collinsworth.
Bro.
Listen to me. He got absolutely toasted on 2 touchdowns that didn't go our way. Because Sam Darnold sailed it over Justin Jefferson twice.
For sure.
So
but
like,
that's 2 plays.
I understand, but
4 quarters.
how different would it have looked had we scored, and asked you this earlier, we score 3 times instead of 5 times out of the red zone. We get to maybe 30 points in that first half. Justin Jefferson has 2 touchdowns, even though he only has 50 yards. That's a very different like narrative for Amik Robertson. So all props to him. He did play very well. That second, listen, I've never seen a team blitz every down.
Every down.
Every down. Their game plan legitimately was, we're going to do the one thing that nobody has seemed to try this year. Let's just make Sam Darnold uncomfortable every single play.
Yeah.
And
they
every
were getting
time
pressure too.
our O-line couldn't hold a cup of water, and every time it did hold water, there was nobody open, and Sam couldn't make the throw. And so it's just like,
That's tough.
what? Because like
Boys are
I can
balling.
sit here on both ends of the stick and say like, listen, we probably should have won that game had a couple things broken our way, but also like the Lions just look like the better team, and so it's kind of conflicting. I do want the rematch. We'll get into playoff previews what I want versus what I think will happen, but I do want the rematch in the divisional round. Dan Campbell said that's chaos at the end of the game.
See you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. And that's all I can hope. Listen, good ride. I texted my dad after it, like, listen, cool season. It's just another season. We're probably going to lose in LA next week.
I think I saw a stat. It was that only 2 teams have scored over 30 points on the Vikings this season, and both were Detroit Lions.
Detroit. Yeah. It's their offense is just damn good, man.
Their offense is
just damn good. It's a juggernaut. Gibbs over Bijan.
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
For sure. Gotta be.
Oh, yeah.
Lucas wouldn't like that, but gotta be.
Oh, for sure, dude. Gibbs is a dog.
Yeah, we'll get into more about the Vikings in the playoff preview. I just wanted to get that off because I feel like I honestly feel like the media has been pretty honest about the teams today. They were just like, the Lions just played a better game. They got some good breaks, and they just were a better team that night. And they haven't been killing Darnold either. Like they know he kind of just has missed passes that he's been making all season. And so we'll see though. This is, and honestly, I was surprised at how many people I heard today not pick the Rams to beat the Vikings. Like a lot of people are on the Vikings side.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't love that either, but we'll get into that later. So I'll pass the torch.
Okay.
I'll pass the torch to, you want to go first? Or you want to introduce our boy over here?
No, Ethan, you got it.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Thanks again for you guys for having me on. But before I get into my little spiel, I want to say a pretty legendary quote from a famous NASCAR driver. You know, if you're not first, you're last. All right, so I feel like more NFL teams need to adopt that mantra. If you're not first, you're last. At the end of the day, like if you're not competing to win, like you're gonna come in last place.
100%.
And so if you guys don't know, I'm a diehard Jacksonville Jaguars fan. And so I had famously posted something today on my Insta story just essentially looking for a new team. Kind of, still loving the Jags. All loved in my Jags, but just from afar. I think that the main issue, man, I think with not just the Jags, but with franchises that lose, that are perennial losers. I think about like the Browns. I think about the Jags. I think about maybe even the Dolphins.
Yeah.
And it just these organizations that are kind of stuck either in mediocrity or in the basement. The number one thing that kind of holds them back is just alignment. You look at like the Lions, I look at the Vikings, like the head coach and GM are in lockstep. You know what I mean? Like they know what the vision and the philosophy and the culture, they know what they want from the team. And so when your head coach and GM are like together, I mean, it makes everything easier. But when they're not, you see a lot of dysfunction. And so I think for teams like the Jags and Browns specifically, like this is just the beginning of their dysfunction. I feel like every few years they kind of ebb and flow where they'll be like, oh, are they kind of good? Maybe a little bit.
Are they getting back
and
there?
they just drop right back down.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of looking at that right now with the Jags specifically. With their decision to ESPN announced it today. They retained Trent Baalke, the Jags GM, and they fired Doug Peterson, which is kind of a weird situation just because they were both hired. They were both given 3-year contracts together, and so if you let go of Doug, sure, but if you keep the GM, he still has 1 more year in his contract. The next head coach you bring in, he's kind of a lame duck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
bring him in, he's going to take it. It's one of 32 jobs. I mean, who doesn't want to be an NFL head coach?
Yeah,
but
for
it's
sure.
like you bring him in, and their organizational structure is that the head coach reports to the owner and the GM reports to the owner. But they don't all – they kind of collaborate together, but they don't. So it's kind of like – what is being said? You know what I mean? It's kind of like I don't know if you guys have siblings, but it's like, oh, I'm gonna tell dad this. Oh,
yes.
I'm telling dad this. So it's like, who's dad gonna believe? You know?
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
So it's super scary that an organization is kind of run that way. You know, like a $1 billion organization is run where there's just no alignment. And so I think that's that's how bad teams stay bad.
Yeah, and you can definitely see that. Like, so let me ask you. Does Trevor Lawrence just give you no hope for the future?
So I am still a Trevor believer. Okay, I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, he's washed, he's trash. But I think when you look at what Trevor has had to walk into, I think I want to say I'm going to go on a limb and say this. Probably no NFL quarterback has had this level of dysfunction like 5 years into his career. Okay. Think about this. Year 1, Urban Meyer, the unmitigated disaster that was. Okay,
it was really bad.
Not a lot of QBs can walk into a franchise that is so dysfunctional. And Trevor a few times had to tell Urban to put specific players in the game because they could help us win. He was like, so Urban loved Carlos Hyde. You know, he's an Ohio State guy. Carlos Hyde was one of his recruits, so he was just consistently wanted to make Carlos Hyde RB1, but he's kind of in the twilight of his career.
Yeah.
Trevor would be like, "Hey, can we put in maybe James Robinson, or I think he can help us." And so Urban was like, "All right, sure, we'll put him in." But it's like when you like your QB1 shouldn't be making personnel decisions. So you scratch year 1. So year 2, it's Doug, brand new offense again, and so he's year 2. He kind of he plays better. He kind of I think they go to the playoffs that year. There's more hype. I think he's 25 touchdowns.
I had high hopes for that
Yeah.
Jags team.
That Jags team was kind of, I think some Jags fans kind of saw through the veil of deception. That a lot of those games the Jags won were like the defense were getting crazy weird turnovers and like
high variance.
Yeah,
plays.
it was just a lot of luck. A lot of luck. You know what I mean? And so we end up going on a weird 6-game win streak. We sneak into the playoffs. We were blessed to play the Brandon what's his name? Brandon Staley led Chargers.
Yeah.
Who was a terrible coach. And I don't think any other coach would be up 27-0 at half and
give that
lose.
away.
I was surprised the Chargers didn't fire him after the game, but whatever. But so we go to Arrowhead and we kind of make it competitive with the Chiefs. I think it gave fans another sense of false hope. But then going into the next year, still there were still kind of question marks about the Jags, like O-line, receiver depth, and some of that was starting to show. And so the Jags ended up going 8-3. At one point they were the first place team in the AFC, which was nuts. Everybody was like, "Wow, the road to the Super Bowl could go through Jacksonville."
Yeah.
And then they go, I think, 1 and 6 or something?
It was like 1 and 4, 1 and 5.
Yeah.
It was really rough.
And they season finale against Tennessee. They need to win to make the playoffs. They lose, and so they completely bottom out. And they kind of just show everybody who we thought they were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kind of just opportunistic pretenders. And so it's kind of the writing was kind of on the wall. I think at that time it would have been a good time to reset. You know what I mean? Just hey, let go of Doug, let go of Trent. Be like, hey, we're going to find somebody new. But I get it. Shad wanted to run it back. And so if you don't know, Shad Khan is the Jags owner. So we go into this next year, and so there was so much hype for this year. It was reported that this was the best team assembled in Jags history.
Wow,
and
that's high.
Oh yeah, and so me, I'm a diehard Jags fan. So probably the best team in Jags history is the '99 team that was 14-2, made it to the AFC Championship game. Lost to the Titans. If you're not familiar with this was the Super Bowl where the Titans and the Rams played, and they lost by a yard. If you don't remember it, so it's a long time ago. But
played on the day of my birth.
Oh wow,
actually,
nice. But that was the best team in Jags history. So when Shad said that, I was like, oh wow, like this team, wow, like they got some expectations. And so right off the gate, after the first game against Miami, I was like, oh boy, we are in for it, because it was just really interesting stuff, like from a coaching standpoint. Like first half we're kind of featuring Brian Thomas Jr., our phenom rookie. It's looking good. Second half we kind of go away from him. Play calling is weird. ETN fumbles. The Dolphins recover. They hit Tyreek on a bomb. Then they score again. And then after that,
it was just
And so that was kind of the Jags season. They kind of just really struggled with adversity. I think they have 8. I think it's either 8 or 9 losses by 1 score or less.
They're one of those teams too. Yep.
Can't close out games. They just lack toughness. They just really struggle with that. And I think going into, this offseason, I think a lot of fans, including myself, were very hopeful, kind of optimistic. Okay, hey, maybe our owner will kind of reset everything. But, he came out today and was like, hey, I'm just going to let Doug go.
Yep.
I'm going to keep Trent. And a funny tidbit was, I was watching earlier. They did a press conference between the owner and the GM, and Jags media kind of talked to everybody and asking them questions. So they asked Shad, hey, did you ever consider doing a full reset, like clean the house? And he was like, a full reset? That's suicide.
I can definitely see them. They've got a little bit of the same syndrome that like the Vikings have, where they want to stay competitive at all times, and they never want to actually just pull the grenade pin on just going full bottom out mode. Which is honestly like. We've seen it for a couple teams now, with the Commanders, with the Texans, with the Lions, even with the Bengals. Like, it really does just take one bottom out to get the player that completely changes your franchises. Yeah. I do have hope for Trevor as well, but I will say he's got the weirdest career I've seen in a while, because like every time I watch him, I'm like, you should be really good at this game.
Yeah, he should.
And you should be winning game. Kind of like Justin Herbert's got a little bit of this, but he's proven a little bit more this season. But just like your team should be good, and it's just not. Like it's just it's always
what's
middling.
the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert right now?
Honestly, too, like you could say Trevor Lawrence and a lot of worse quarterbacks as well, like a lot of middling quarterbacks with his stats.
That's what
too.
I'm saying. If you put Lawrence in Herbert's spot, I'm sure the Chargers are still successful.
Yeah, I would say, especially now with the infrastructure they have.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, right now, you switch them. Like I would say,
no, I agree.
Chargers are still a playoff team.
I agree.
But I mean, listen, we're gonna get into it. I'm gonna talk about the Panthers real quick, but I'm very curious to kind of dive more into your Instagram post this morning,
which is the reason we reached out to our friend Ethan today. We caught he caught our eye, and we said, "Hey, boy, we have something for you to try."
Oh boy, do we have a train for you to get on?
Man!
But hey, Carolina, man,
what a game.
You guys are making it hard. You don't want me to leave. I know you're listening.
Bryce is hitting us. The Curry in the middle of the game, bro.
I know Bryce is watching this. He doesn't want me to leave. Man, and listen, one of my best friends is an Atlanta Falcons fan. And going into this game, going into the Bucks game last week, we were talking about it. I said, he was like, yeah, he was pouting because, they were going to lose the division and whatnot. And I was like, listen, that's okay, because we're going to walk into Tampa Bay, blow the gates off them. Then we're going to come into your house and we're going to blow the gates off y'all too. I said, utmost confidence. And now listen, we got our back blown out by Tampa Bay, and that's totally fine, because we then just set our eyes on Atlanta and be like, that's fine. Yeah. Now we're going to ruin your season. And so we went into Atlanta, and listen, our defense is Swiss cheese. Okay, I've been saying it all season. Our defense is terrible, but our offense looks kind of been clicking.
Some fun stuff.
And I tell you what, man, watching Bryce smile and be happy is like made me happy.
Yeah.
Like every time he throws a good ball, every time he throws a touchdown, like he's smiling,
Yeah.
he's like having fun. The league has named him the Grim Reaper.
I love it. I freaking love it, bro.
Yo, he has,
I love it, bro.
In one season, I have this written down right here. I want to bring it up.
It's actually insane. His little run that he's had.
He's
since
he's
got
had
better.
a completely magical run.
I sent you a take earlier today too about like somebody was saying he should win comeback player of the year.
Ooh.
And
that
I
would
like,
be
that'd be kind of crazy because
that
like
would
a
be
lot of times it
interesting.
goes to like an injured player, but
Mhm.
honestly, like our injured players who we thought might win it, haven't really done much. I guess didn't Baker get hurt at the end of last year? Was that last year? Or was that 2 years ago? I can't remember. I think he was one of them, but I know Kirk was. I know Aaron was. That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Honestly, Bryce makes a really good
He
case.
does. No, he does for the road that he's had. I mean, listen, this year he's gotten the Giants head coach fired. He has ruined. He has ended Arizona's playoff hope.
Yep.
He has ended Atlanta's playoff
He got the
hope.
Saints head coach
He got the
fired.
Saints head coach fired. I mean, this guy is like, you do not want to face a Carolina team in the back half of the season. But that being said, he does make a good case for comeback player. Obviously, starting first 2 games, playing utter trash. Getting benched for a few weeks for Andy Dalton, coming back in, and then not looking back.
And honestly, like if Andy Dalton doesn't like get in a car accident,
Yeah, we don't know. If,
I don't
we don't
like.
see
Who
Bryce
knows
again.
if they even keep Bryce?
I
like,
mean, maybe.
I'm sure Andy
few
Dalton
more-
screws up somewhere along the way to
For
put
sure,
Bryce back
for
in,
sure, for
but
sure.
It's a crazy butterfly effect.
it really
Yeah.
is, man.
And Bryce is just, man, he's got them guys humming. And I knew like this last offseason, we invested in the O-line, and I know that was a big part of like Bryce's failure last year. Is just he didn't have any time.
Yeah,
That's what everybody was saying. Like
the
it's
main
not Bryce's
crippling
fault.
effect of a quarterback.
Yeah,
is not
yeah,
having
exactly.
time
They're like,
to
you know,
block.
it's not Bryce's fault. It's not Bryce's fault. And I agreed. And we went and invested in an O-line, and in the first 2 games of the season, he was the least pressured quarterback in the league. Yet couldn't put up any points, throwing interceptions, was playing like utter garbage. And so that's when I turned and shifted the blame. I was like, all right, it's just Bryce.
Yeah.
He's just bad.
Yeah.
Obviously, back half of the season's been balling out. It's been
for
fun.
sure, yeah.
He's brought some joy back to Carolina.
You could see the players have rallied around his,
He has.
Absolutely.
his
Yes.
renaissance.
Absolutely.
And that's what's making it hard.
Yeah, it's tough.
He's getting Cam Newton's stamp of approval. He's getting like. he's
So
just-
Adam Thielen has become just prime Adam Thielen
Yeah.
again.
he's just open.
Insane stuff, bro.
And so, like I said, it's been making it really hard. I'm glad we won against Atlanta. I was able to rub it in my friend's face. But he was like, "Oh no, the Bucks won. It didn't matter." No, it does matter.
And
It
all
does.
all respect to you, Lucas. I know you'll probably listen to this too. I am honestly kind of glad the Falcons did not get in because I do think they would by far be the weakest opponent in Wildcard Weekend. And I do think the Bucks are going to make for more exhilarating matchup in round 1.
I think
but-
the Bucks are a more exciting team, but that's just I'm biased. I'm a big Baker guy. I'm a big Baker guy. So, Carolina ended the season strong, and listen, I do believe momentum is a thing. Like this little stretch at the end of the season is going to carry to next season. And that's what's making my decision difficult. And so, that being said, if you don't mind, I would love to just go into free.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was planning to do. So you want to explain it to our
Yes,
audience
I would
who
love to.
who's
So,
been-
at the beginning or the end of last offseason, and this is kind of new for you too, Ethan. At the beginning of last offseason, I was like, okay, like I'm tired of losing. I'm tired of the Carolina Panthers. Like, I originally became a Panthers fan when Cam Newton got drafted. He's my favorite player, so I automatically picked the Panthers. Obviously, had a magical season, 2016. Love my life, love football. I was like, hey, this football thing is fun.
It's fun, yeah.
And in sense, it's just been dreadful. I haven't made the playoff since.
pretty rough.
So I was like, listen, if my favorite player can sign with another team because he wants to make more money, because he wants to go to a better situation, because he wants to go win a ring, then me as a fan should be able to do the same thing. And so I created something called free agency fandom. It's funny because we've never had this conversation prior.
It's catching fire. The first spark is lit.
But I started this thing called free agency fandom, and I decided, listen, this next season is going to be the last season of Carolina. And I'm going to give them the opportunity to win me back because obviously I've been home to Carolina for a number of years now. So I want to give them the opportunity to win me back. Obviously, the season had its ups and downs and whatnot. But as the season has gone along, we have been keeping track of a few teams that, I'm eyeing as far as like franchise destinations. The only kind of stipulations or rules I've kind of put on it, just to not be labeled a bandwagon, is no Super Bowl contenders. So you can't join a Super Bowl contender. And by no means do you have to abide by these rules. It's just the rules I'm going by. No Super Bowl contenders, no division contenders as well. So anybody in the AFC or NFC championship game. And then division winners gets a little tricky because there's some division winners that are really, really good, and there's some division winners that are like, sure, you won the division, like the Texans. You won the division, but your division is really bad this season. So that one's a kind of like a make a case and whatnot. Do you want to hear kind of like the list of some franchises?
For sure. Let's hear it.
So I don't know what you've thought about, what you've been looking at, but I've got, in no order, I've got the Raiders. I've got Washington. I've got Cincinnati because they're having a down year. Texans are on there. I've got the Bucks, the Broncos, and then the Rams, but they're kind of fading.
Rams are kind of on the. They've lost a little bit of traction, and Ethan, like, stock has been rising and falling for a lot of these teams all season. It's just like the stock market. We buy the dips. We like the dips. Because that will ensure less violence from the fans on our part when Joe inevitably picks the team that he's going to pick. So
now the thing about Washington obviously having a great season, division winner,
did not win the division.
Not win the division. Looking like they were for a little bit.
They could have.
But a wild card team that has the potential to make it to the NFC Championship. But our case is we've been on Washington since week one.
So we started this off by me slowly suggesting teams to Joe. He kind of brought some. Washington was like the first one we ever put on the board.
Yeah.
We were like, hey,
the number one team. We were kind of high in.
This could be cool because could be like a CJ Stroud situation. We didn't really know, but either way, Jaden looked fun, and so we've been on that. So that's one of the few exceptions to the rule of just kind of like a really good team, like a pretty good team this year. But
stock is a little bit higher than I like.
Yes,
I'm buying.
You're not buying super low, but you're buying in a good time before it really takes off.
Like Bitcoin.
Yes,
Bitcoin.
Exactly.
So it's that, and then you got a couple other teams Broncos stock is a little high right now. I mean, there's a lot of hype around them. Everybody thinks Broncos are fun. Everybody likes Bo Nix. Texans stock down. Oof. Even though they won a division, stock is still down. They've had not such a great season. Cincinnati, I could argue stock is actually pretty low.
Stock's about as low as it's going to be for probably a while.
Because, that stock is going to quickly rise.
It very much could, yep.
So those are a few of the teams I've been kind of dancing around, looking at. We've been keeping updates. For those of you that don't know, Ethan posted this morning a heartfelt goodbye message that I thought I was reading Tyreek Hill's goodbye message. Saying goodbye to Jacksonville and saying that he was entering the portal and looking for a new franchise. And I immediately was like, what? You too?
I'm not gonna lie, Ethan. I thought you were an avid listener of the pod for a second.
My goodness.
I really did. I
immediately was like, let's embark on this journey together because man, are we in for a ride?
Yeah. So
I've been having a lot of fun with this journey. And I don't know if you've been thinking about it for a while, if you woke up this morning and just emotions boiled over.
Sounds like you woke up a new man. Yeah. Really does.
So
the sun rose anew.
I'm not aware of how much thought you put into it or teams you've been looking at and whatnot, but I'm curious to see,
I mean, what teams are you eyeing up, Ethan? You put out the call. You put out the flag that, hey, I'm ready to try some new opportunities.
And
here.
I've got a sheet right here. If you mentioned any teams that I've been kind of looking at, I've got a little bit of information regarding all of them. But I'm curious to go back and forth.
A couple things we're factoring in too. You got to factor in obviously the buys and the lows and the division winners, non-division winners, but also you got to think about salary cap moving forward, what players they might have, draft capital, all those good things that maybe things like where we saw the Texans they got 2 picks flipped. Jaden came to town, Washington flipped. I mean,
I'm curious.
Yeah, no, for sure. Guys, I think that I'm going to go first proximity route. So I think I'm going to start with the Bucks, because I mean, they're right down the road. Raymond James Stadium is a great stadium, They got the crew, I mean, who doesn't want to be a part of the crew?
With an E.
Yeah, with an E. I think they play a really exciting brand of football. They're super. It's like when you play them, they're super scrappy. But then you're like, oh wow, these guys are good. Yeah. They start off scrappy, but once their offense starts humming, it's like, oh wow, they can put up 45.
They put up a top 5 offense this year.
I know, crazy.
Baker is 3rd in yards
with missing their
Chris Godwin.
Wide receiver 2.
I mean,
but
he became the one this year. I mean, Chris Godwin in the slot was going.
He was going insane.
He was going nuts.
I mean,
and then who knew about Bucky Irving?
Yeah.
What in the world,
dude? I remember seeing him in college a little bit. I had no idea he was on the Bucs.
Yeah.
And then I didn't believe Rachaad White was like a true top 10, like number 1 back. I thought he was just getting like really good touches and a really good offensive line and a really good offensive system. But yeah, Bucky has been a revelation.
Oh my goodness.
He looks incredible.
He does. Like Rachaad White has always been a good fantasy back.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Bucky's a good fantasy back and a good like real life NFL back. You know what I mean? And
he's going to be a top 10. He might be a top 10 pick next year in fantasy.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's
for
on
sure.
most people's boards like
yeah.
that.
And I just think they have a good thing going. Hopefully, what's his name? Liam Cohen. Hopefully he stays.
I feel like he will. It's just 1 year.
Yeah.
There's no way he gets hired.
Yeah, he can put out another body of work. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and they can, acquire some more offensive talent or whatever. I would say my number 2 team is the Bengals. I just think, I mean, bro, how can you not root? I mean, even as a Jags fan, how can you, like, when the Jags played the Bengals last year, it's like, bro, like, I am like secretly a big Joe Burrow fan. You know what I mean? Like, bro, like,
all the best people are.
Bro,
Ethan, that's
like,
the secret.
he is a stone cold killer, man. He like
Joe Cool.
Joe Burr.
He just like, I think I saw some stat where it was like no, I think like Patrick Mahomes, that documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
And they were, Patrick Mahomes was, I think the Chiefs are like 20-2 against every team in the NFL except the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like he just can't, I don't say he can't beat them, but it's like when they play together, Joe is like, I am the guy.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, don't you forget
We talk about it a lot on the pod, how the Bengals really do reach a different level when they're playing the Chiefs.
We talked about it last week when the Chiefs had the Bengals season in their hands. I'm like, dude, even though the Bengals would have to go to Buffalo first, like the Chiefs do not want to see Cincinnati in the playoffs.
And we saw it.
Especially in Arrowhead.
Absolutely.
They do not want
The
Cincinnati coming
Chiefs
to
actually
Arrowhead.
showed the Patriots how tanking is supposed to be done
Yes.
this week by eliminating the Bengals.
Absolutely. Oh, my
man.
goodness.
But another great team.
Yes.
I mean, like you got him, you got that awesome core with Joe, you got what's his name, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. It's like I don't know, like once
Chase
the
Brown.
once they reach their potential, how do you stop them? Especially if
Dude, they've got the easiest little, like, when they just need a down and out for 10 yards, they can just do it. Like, they're one of, I've never, like, seen, like, an offense. I have, but, like, they're just one of those offenses that, like, when they need the yards that they need, they're just going to do it. And you really can't stop those 2 receivers when they're humming. So.
Exactly. No coverage.
Yeah.
No coverage can stop
Now,
them.
the only thing is cap space and having to pay. I mean, we kind of talked about it, I think, off pod. But obviously, the situation with Jamar Chase is you didn't pay him before the season.
Yep.
Then you have a triple crown on your hands, and now it's like
you also have to pay Trey Hendrickson soon. I don't think he's this year, but he's going to want an
he's coming.
extension.
Yeah,
and then
he is
you also
coming.
have to pay T this year. You know, so it's like you're in a tough spot because like it is very clear that you need a defense.
Yeah.
Like they very desperately need it. Even just a middle of the pack defense, they're a Super Bowl contender.
Absolutely.
But you having to pay Chase and having to pay T and having to pay Gesicki, these are some of the free agents that they have. It's like might be a little hard, and you might have to let one go. And
they fired Big Lou today too.
Yeah.
the defensive
I'm
coordinator.
not gonna say was the wrong decision, but I am a little skeptical of that one. Only because like for 4 straight years, everybody was like, Big Lou is like the quarterback killer. Like he beats Josh Allen, he beats Pat Mahomes, he beats all the good ones, and then he has one bad season because their personnel is garbage.
Yep.
And it's like
He kind of got scapegoated.
He did.
It's the way it is.
Unfortunately, that's why Zach Taylor also didn't get. But listen, Joe Burrow's got that organization by the nuts. I mean, behind scenes, I wouldn't be surprised if he's holding them hostage in the back. Like
I love Joe Burrow.
the comments he makes, where he's like, "No, you're gonna sign T and you're gonna sign Chase, and then you're gonna sign me."
He's like,
to a
we're all
bigger
going to be here
extension
forever.
for a long time.
It's hard not to root for Joe Burrow.
It's hard.
Dude, yeah.
Lucas makes it easy.
Yeah, he's just such a hater. He's such a hater.
Oh
It
man.
is what it
Oh,
is.
man. Sorry, Lucas. We're not trying to take shots.
No, we love you. We love you, man.
so
No,
much.
we
love
are.
you, dude.
I am.
All right. Any other teams, Ethan?
I would say the next team is the Commanders. So, fun fact about me. So, I lived in Arlington, Virginia for about 2 years.
He's gotten in.
So I lived there. So I can root.
Dude, you worked Camp Sunshine.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
true.
yes,
Oh
I
my
did.
God, we all worked at the
I'm
same
a-
summer
all
camp.
alums.
That's insane.
Yeah, let's go.
That's insane. I'm not shouting out that camp on the pod, but that's crazy.
Has
crazy.
ties to the area.
Yeah.
So
I was a fan when they were the Redskins, and I remember one of the first games I went to. They had Rex Grossman at QB, and at FedEx Field, they were still out there. They just love. They really get behind their team, and I was just super impressed by the fan base. I mean, and it was just like such a good atmosphere to be a part of. So now that they've drafted Jaden Daniels, and like suddenly he's just kind of re-energized that fan base. It seems like a good team to want to be a part of. You know what I
Agreed.
mean? Like you got Terry McLaurin, you got what's his name, Brian Robinson Jr.
Yep.
I love him.
Run it back. And
Roll
you got
Tide.
you got a solid defense. You got a good head coach. You know what I mean? I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
I agree.
No, for sure. Their situation's really good. Going to next year, cap space 101 million. So they
They've
got a good.
They've
cap.
got room. They unfortunately do the Vikings thing where Dan Quinn brought on all his friends and signed them to like 1-year deals.
Yeah.
So a lot of their defensive players are like, we're
yes.
gonna have to.
So that's what I'm getting to. So obviously Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, Zach Ertz, they're all notable free agents. But that being said, last offseason, man, they were just throwing money.
They really were.
They were like, you come. They were just signing every.
Eckler,
I
too.
felt like every 5 minutes I was Washington
Yeah, it was
signed,
Washington.
Washington signed. I'm like, oh my gosh.
And that was, a lot of those were before they even drafted.
That was before
Jaden, too.
draft. Way before the draft.
Because everybody was like, what are they doing?
Then
What are doing?
then they hit in
Yeah.
the draft.
Yes.
And
They knew
it's
they
just
knew what was
been-
up. They really did.
Oh my God, Jaden has been so good, dude.
Absolutely
And it's-
phenomenal.
They're
He's
my number
insane.
one team as
Yeah.
of right now. I have ties to the area. Obviously working in that area. My wife's family's from that area. They're from northern Virginia, just outside of DC. So I have family ties to that area. And this is like definitely a team I could go and watch.
Yeah.
You know, at different parts of the year, like when I'm seeing family and whatnot. So they're number one on my list currently,
Okay,
Washington. But you know, again, stock's a little high, but man, they're really fun to watch. I'm rooting for them heavy in the playoffs.
And hey, Ethan, we'll see. You know, you have a couple weeks to make a decision. Joe is going to decide before the draft.
Okay.
So we'd love to have you back on
for
future
sure.
episodes when we talk about the draft. Really, just track your free agency as well. And see what you
Absolutely,
decide ultimately
absolutely.
as well. I've got this whole ceremony planned for this guy over here.
Yeah.
So
Listen, hey,
I'm
Bucks
very
is not a
excited.
bad option though. I definitely understand.
Signing day is going to be fun.
Oh, signing day is gonna be really fun. But yeah, Bucks is a great option. Obviously, we live like so close.
He was on the Bucks a little bit for some.
I was. They got a little bit too good, maybe. For
They did
me.
win their division, and I know you're stingy about that one. So
Yeah, so we'll see. But listen, massive Baker guy.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh, Baker's my.
Oh
guy.
my goodness, dude! My favorite Baker moment is when he was in college and they played Kansas.
Yes.
And like at the beginning of the game, it was like Kansas didn't shake hands, and Baker was like, "All right, if you don't want to shake hands, fine." He's like, "I'm gonna show you who Daddy is." I was like, "That's what I want. That's what I want in my QB."
bro.
Yeah.
I love him
I
so
love that
much.
he's a villain. Like,
Yeah.
it almost for the Bucks, it's such an advantage because an away game is not a disadvantage.
Yes.
Your quarterback gets better when people are booing him. Like
Yeah.
he loves that.
No,
energy.
he thrives off the
He
field.
loves
energy.
when you paint him as the bad guy. Like he'll soak it in, and it makes him play better. And to have a quarterback where you're going into a hostile environment and your quarterback's only going to get 10 times better is an insane feat to have. And Baker's just. He's good, man. He's
good,
really
man.
good. I'm so happy for him. I know
Same,
we
man.
had him in Carolina, and you know things didn't work out, but very happy for his situation in Tampa.
So, that's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna get into the playoffs because obviously they are on the horizon. We are finally here, long season, like we said. This is gonna be a good slate of games. Like, honestly, the best outcomes happened where we didn't get stinky teams like the Falcons, like the Dolphins.
yeah, like the Falcons, they stink.
I'm more referencing the Dolphins, but like there was definitely some opportunities here for like some backdoor teams to sneak into, and we get that like one team where it's just like, all right, we know you're playing Saturday.
Yeah, but you're gonna lose.
We know what's gonna happen.
Before we get into the playoffs,
Yes.
I do have.
Oh,
some very
we actually
special
have.
news.
Yes, please. We have a big
very special
announcement.
news. So next time you refer to House 1055, I would like you to put 2024 Week 18 Patrick Pick'em champions in front of us.
Let's go, baby! Let's go, double check! Let's go!
So we all season long we have a dear friend of the pod. Name is Patrick. He's in a Pick'ems, a work Pick'ems.
Yeah.
This was not your ordinary Pick'ems. You know, Noah's part of a Pick'ems. Probably what 10 guys, maybe 7 guys. We are in a Pick'ems with 80 plus people.
Large.
Let's go.
Savage land.
So very, very hefty list. We've been in it since week 1.
Yes.
We had 1 week where we went undefeated slate.
If we would have bet on it, we would have
Very-
won a lot of money.
Whoa, that's pretty impressive, right?
A lot of money.
7 other people also had a perfect sheet.
Wow.
So we went into that. We lost in the Monday Night Finals because our score was
It was
literally
Bills Jets.
one field goal away,
Yeah.
and they missed 4.
Yeah.
Had they hit one of the 4 they missed, we would have won. But we didn't, and that hurt. That hurt
It really
for a little
did.
bit.
Really did.
It stung. It stung really deep in the heart. but we persevered.
We did.
We did. We
Through some long and
Hey,
hard
listen,
weeks.
We showed up every week.
Every week.
And I am proud to say week 18, the last week, we clutched it up.
Oh, man, we clutched
and
it up
we
so
won
hard, bro.
Our pick'ems.
And hey, let's give Patrick a little credit too, because listen, Patrick, I know I picked the Vikings. I know you're not blaming me for that. You did your thing and picked the Lions.
You're smart and you went with my pick.
That's
because we were split.
and I understand that because of the bias in the situation. So good job, but we were split. But listen, we had a lot of games flip our way this week. We were right on a lot of the underdogs.
So we bet on. So we
Even when in a historic season for the favorites, we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Favorites was one of the second highest favorites like total of all time in the betting odds of just favorites winning games.
So we had 3 games that went our way. That the reason we won. We lost one game.
Yeah.
That was the Packers and Bears.
Yeah.
Out of 80 people, 4 people took the Bears.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Didn't
okay.
bite us too hard.
Heavy in the minority, or we were heavy in the majority. So we lost that game. We took the Patriots to beat the Bills.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, baby. Come on, baby. Hell yeah, baby. Joe Milton time, baby.
Listen, a lot of you are like, you took the Patriots to beat the Bills? Are you sure? Yes, I'm sure.
Yep.
Okay, we were one of 15 people out of 80
Come on,
to take the
people.
Patriots.
Wow.
We were one of 15 people to take the Jets to beat Miami. And then we were one of 15 people to take, who was the last game? We took, do you remember who it was?
I don't remember who it was, but
We were
Cardinals.
Heavy in the minority.
It was the Cardinals game.
No, it's the Panthers.
It was the Panthers. Yeah, we
Only
were
14 people took the
Yeah,
Panthers.
we
one of them.
were heavy on
Which
the
I was
Panthers.
very surprised that so little people took the Panthers.
Yeah.
Like, do you not
And-
listen to House
well,
55?
I will say too, for a second, I had to convince you into the Panthers at the very beginning of that.
Yeah.
And then you quickly bought in. You did.
I
You quickly bought in.
I get,
But
that was a low
that
moment.
we finally got to a week where you didn't like really want to pick the Panthers against the
know.
team. And hey, but listen, we did it.
We did it, man.
You know that meme of the guy like popping champagne, like flipping off things and like biting the metal, and then it's like he's like the 6th medal down.
Yeah.
That's totally us right
You know,
now.
you know,
Week
you know
18
the
champs,
meme-
baby.
You know the meme that says, "I'm not going to let you know that I won the lottery, but there will be
There
signs."
will be signs.
I'm
Just
just
know
saying.
if
you see
some
us in a
things
brand-
change around here,
Just know.
just know
Week 18.
we may have potted some gold. Oh man! So hey, Patrick, we had a lot of fun. I'm sorry we maybe disappointed you most weeks, but if there was a way to go out,
Hey,
that's
one way to
that
go
was
out.
it. And hey, we'll be back next year, even though you're probably not asking for it, to do the same thing. So lots of fun. Lots of fun. Let's get into the playoffs. We're gonna do 2 things. I do want to ask 2 questions before we get into our predictions. Prediction wise, I want to do our wants versus our what we actually feel is going to happen.
Like wants win.
Because those can be like 2 different things. Obviously, with the bias of my team being in it, I'm going to have a want bracket.
I feel like you're doing this whole segment just to pick your team.
I'm not going to say I am, but I am. So listen, we're going to have both those. But also in 2025, we are going to start what we did start last year but didn't hold true to it, which is our take tracker. We will be tracking the stats this year. This is a brand new year. We are going to do this. And we're going to see, of all the people we have on the pod, myself, Joe, Ethan, if you come back a couple times, Dylan, Lucas, Austin, who has the most accurate takes of the group? Because obviously, like, you get around, like, nobody really remembers their takes from, like, 5 months ago. And then also, though, in group chats, when you do get a take wrong, it gets brought up. You get scolded for it.
It happens a lot in our group chat.
It happens a lot in our
Hey,
group chat.
no, you remember 6 months ago you said the
listen.
Bengals were going to be good?
No,
Yeah.
listen. Yeah, it gets brought up like a bad grudge, like a toxic grudge. And obviously, like, listen, we're content people. We're gonna be wrong.
Yeah.
But that's why we're tracking this shit. So we're gonna see.
Numbers don't
lie, baby. And hey, next time somebody wants to bring up in the chat, you were wrong about this, you'll be able to show them the
54 other takes that were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So, listen, we're gonna get into this. We'll go kind of quickly through recapping, through previewing these, because we're just gonna do preview the week 1 games, but I want to give the full bracket. Like, I want you to pick your picks, and maybe we can do this as season depending on how time allots. But let's start with our wants. Our wants of who we want to win.
Yeah.
Wildcard weekend. Whether that means you want them because you like the matchups it will produce in the second round, or whether just you like a team and you just want to keep seeing them win. Whether you don't like a team, you just want to see them lose. I don't like either one of them. But let's start with the first game of the week. Let me pull it up here. It's going to be Chargers at Texans, and it's funny because all the things I've been hearing this week about the Chargers and Texans. You know, the Texans like historically only play on Saturday.
Yep, Saturday at 3:30.
Yep, Saturday at 3:30. Like the notoriously like worst playoff game to be scheduled in, just because it's the guarantee nobody's watching your game. So Texans are back, featured again heavily, home team again, playing the Chargers. Who do we want to win this game?
Ooh,
Go.
I am a huge Texans hater. You know what I mean?
Hey, fair.
AFC South.
I see. This is
know?
good. This is
Freaking hate
good.
the
Fair.
Texans. So I'm gonna go with the Fighting Jim Harbaugh's here.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Love
I
it.
love Jim Harbaugh. Love Justin Herbert. Their defense has been playing lights out.
Yeah.
I think the Texans have kind of been on a down tilt.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna say maybe 27-10.
Yeah, I heard their offense today was ranked like 25th after everything was said and done over the year, which for CJ Stroud and that offense, when we were looking into it, I mean, he had MVP hopes. Like there was a lot of buzz going around about that team. But yeah, fighting Jim Harbaugh's, man, fighting lads, fighting Quentin Johnston's. A lot of scrappy players in that team.
Yeah. I want the Chargers to win.
Yeah.
And my pick is more rooted in more competitive games in the next round.
Yeah,
I
fair.
just feel like the Texans aren't. And maybe it's because of their injuries and whatnot. Maybe it's just who they are. But I just don't think they can really be as competitive as the Chargers could be in this AFC division.
I agree. There's a high likelihood that this team is the team to face the Chiefs, whoever wins this game in the next round. And so because of that, I would also like to see the Chargers. It's kind of funny how we flipped. We both, I think, were really. I picked the Texans to be my Super Bowl pick at the beginning of the year,
in week one.
And boy, that has gone astray for this team. Injuries too, but also they just have not played well. I agree. I honestly don't want to see the Chiefs get kind of a free pass to the AFC Championship game. And I do think I do think actually a lot of these teams could challenge the Chiefs, and I think if one of them is going to really do it as well, besides like the heavy hitters of the group, Chargers going to be that team because they can run the ball, they can control the clock a little better. They almost beat them both times earlier in this year, and so
You know who also almost beat them? The Broncos.
the Broncos maybe, and then only team to shut out the 2-time undefeated champs or once defeated champs. So yeah, all right, so. I honestly think we can kind of go for everybody. We all think the Chargers are going to win, right?
I think so.
Yeah, so we can kind of move on from this one. That's an easy pick. Let's get into Saturday. So Saturday we've got actually that Chargers Texans game is also Saturday, but Steelers Ravens play the Saturday night game. Obviously the third rematch of this team. So
they split, right?
They did split. Steelers got the better of them earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Ravens kind of trounced them later on in the season. Who do we want to win this game?
No, definitely Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, the Steelers are cool and all. They're going into the playoffs like slowing down heavy.
They're doing the Steelers thing.
Yes, I mean like that train was chugging, all the way up to like mid-season.
Yeah,
even a little bit past mid-season. But listen, those wheels are struggling to turn. And I just going into the playoffs, like that's you want the opposite.
Yeah, you want the complete opposite.
In Baltimore, ever since they took that bye week and Lamar's mom cussed him out, he's been balling. And I just think him and Derrick Henry are gonna trounce this
Two-headed monster.
Steelers team. Yeah, and I'm not sure if TJ's playing. I don't know if I've seen any reports as of yet.
He
probably will try and play. Yeah, he got hurt last game. He probably will try and play. But I'll see if there's any reports on him playing because that's going to obviously be a major.
So
factor.
you also think they're going to win as well?
Yeah, I would say I'm all the way on Baltimore.
Yeah. No, I think Baltimore is good for football. Hats off to the Steelers. I mean, Mike Tomlin, I think he's super underrated head coach. So, fun fact, he has never had a losing season as head coach. He's always gone at least 500 or better, which is like super unprecedented. So I think just for him to kind of get this Steelers team to the playoffs with their offense, so putrid is incredible. But I think that it is super hard to beat your division rivals. Like nobody knows you like your division opponent, but 100%. I think that the Ravens are they're gonna get their number again.
So. Yeah. TJ is playing, by the way. He's
I would expect him to. I wouldn't be surprised.
She had an ankle injury.
Yeah, week. I mean, again, this is not the hard matchups that we'll get to later. I think the Ravens are the better team. I do think there is a world where the Steelers make this a yucky game, and in the fourth quarter it's just close, and they just do the Steelers thing where they just kind of mess up the game plan a little bit just because they make you play their dirty game of not really doing a lot of offensive wow, pizzazz. It's just a lot of gross, deep balls and check downs and letting them run the ball.
Yeah.
But listen, Baltimore should win this game. I do think they will win this game. I do think it's best for the league that they win this game because it will produce a very, very fun matchup in the next round.
Yes.
And so I'm also on that train. Those were the two easy ones. Let's get those out of the way. Let's keep it pushing. Fun one. More fun than I think if you would have told us this obviously like 6 weeks ago. I don't think anybody would have thought this is fun. But Broncos are playing the Bills up in Buffalo.
Should
So
be the Bengals.
listen. This is a very Bengals pro heavy pod. We do like the frisky Broncos, but really wish this was the Bengals. I personally want the Bills to win this game. I want that because again, I do think the matchup with the Ravens in the next round will be very fun, and I do think because of my later takes, I want that matchup for the Bills as well because they've got a little bit of bad blood between that game that happened way early on in the year, and that's like honestly that game probably decides the MVP. If it's not decided before that, I don't remember when the specific date of it is, but no, that game will be like an MVP heavy, media feed. So I think the Bills will win, and I do want the Bills to win because, again, I just don't think the Broncos going to the Chiefs would be, I guess, a fun story, but I'm not picking Bo Nix to beat the Chiefs in the divisional round in his first year of playing NFL football. I just don't see that happening. So, again, though, I do think there's a world where like the Broncos, get some stops and Bo Nix just kind of does his thing that he's been doing this season where they're just putting up lots of points. They got some okay weapons. So we'll see. It's a tough game, but I do think the Bills will win. I do want the Bills to win.
Dang, I'm torn. I'm not gonna lie. I'm really torn. I really do want to see a Josh Allen Mahomes matchup at some point in the AFC. I need it. I need it like water.
Yeah.
And if I didn't, then I would really be pulling for Bo Nix here. So like all things considered, it's Bo Nix's rookie year. We'll probably see him back in the playoffs, hopefully, in the near future. So I'm gonna go Bills here. I'm also a big Haley Steinfeld guy, so
that may be the number one reason, right?
Oh yeah, so I'm pulling for the Bills. I want the Bills, and I probably foresee the Bills win. I mean, they've been rolling.
Yeah. So my take, I think I want the Bills to win, but I think this could be a little bit of like upset city here, just because one of the most powerful things, like we talked about earlier, a team can have is momentum. But I think when you couple that with belief, and so when you think about like 12 months ago where the Broncos were at, saddled with that Russell Wilson contract, they were just in complete shambles. They just got
dark times.
Yeah, they just got they were just getting pieced up by the league, and so they flipped that in a year. So Sean Payton has them not only in the playoffs, but they believe, hey, we can like beat teams. And so I think when you look at their defense, like their defense is pretty solid. Like they can stop people. They have good secondary help. Their D line gets great pressure. So I think if this is a game that the Bills like don't put away early, like if their offense doesn't like force their will against the Broncos, like don't be surprised if it's like a 20-20 game and Bo Nix leads them down and they win.
I can see that too. I agree. Yeah. I agree with the putting them away early thing. I do think Josh Allen has to flex his superhero muscles a little bit.
Oh yeah, this is gonna be a Josh Allen out of the pocket kind of game.
Yeah, he's gotta just take them by the throat and really just kind of end it early. I do agree with that. Yeah. But okay, next matchup. Now we're getting into the good stuff where we get a little bit more. Maybe we'll see our wants and needs kind of play out a little differently. Packers Eagles playing Sunday 4:30 in Philadelphia. Love is hurt.
Yeah,
hobbled. Watson is probably gone.
Torn ACL.
It was confirmed this year. Yeah, or this week or
tough
today.
Yeah.
Torn ACL. He's done. Love was hurt last game. I'm gonna go Eagles here. Want and will win. Okay. They are buzzsaw. I think even a healthy Packers team, I'm still taking the Eagles. Maybe the margins are a little closer. But I'm listen, and you know me, if you listen to the pod, you know I'm a big Eagles guy. I do really like the Eagles, and so I'm gonna be pulling for them. Because I low-key want to see them back in the bowl. So
okay. Yeah. Ethan?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with Josie. I'm going to take the Eagles as well. I think that their defensive line is nuts. I think their offensive line is still pretty awesome. I think that their secondary is much improved. I think a big issue with the Packers is like we know Josh Jacobs can run and what he can do, but I think their wide receivers are still a little unproven. You know what I mean? Like Jaden Reed has been a no-show sometimes. Dontavian Wicks is kind of inconsistent. And then losing Christian Watson, that's like their big play deep threat. So it's like you can kind of bring your safeties up. You don't got to play deep so much. So I feel like
just a bunch of gadget guys.
yeah. So it's like I feel like LaFleur, their coach, phenomenal offensive mind, but I don't think it's going to be enough.
No,
Yeah, I just think with the reincarnation of Ed Reed in the back, it's just going to be really hard to stop.
If you don't know, it's Cooper DeJean.
It's Blankenship.
Yeah.
It's
He's Blankenship
Reed.
too?
It's Reed Blankenship.
It's honestly interchangeable. It really is.
It is interchangeable.
Yeah. So this is one I struggle with. What I want versus I do think the Eagles are going to win. I do think the Eagles are
There's
just...
no way you want another NFC North team.
So listen,
to win.
here's my only thought for wanting the honestly, this game couldn't be better. I was rooting for this matchup because at the end of the day, one of these two teams is going home, which is just A+ in my book. There is a world where the Eagles, I do want the Eagles to get knocked out because then there's no way that we're facing them if we do get that far. And there's no way we have to go to Philadelphia. Because at this point, if we play the Eagles, we'll be playing in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And that's just not a great matchup for us. It's just not.
No, nobody wants to play.
Nobody wants to play in Philadelphia. And so my want, honestly, kind of leans the Packers' way because Packers win this game. Two things happen. They potentially go to Detroit and either take out the Lions or the Lions dispel of them. I don't care. And then the second thing that happens is that if Washington somehow pulls up the upset, we get a matchup with the Packers if we win our game in the second round. And so I think there's like some benefits to the Packers winning for the Vikings specifically. But at the same time, I just don't think it's going to happen. I have not been high on this Packers team all year. I just think they're shaky. Their defense is like, they're kind of like the Jags. They're like, you should be good, but like you're not. and so I don't really know. Love being hobbled doesn't help as well. I do think he's still really iffy. Like sometimes he's just really on, and then we saw it against the Vikings. He goes like 3.5 quarters without doing anything, and so he can be a little bit of a garbage time merchant, a little bit. So I do think it'd be better if the Eagles got knocked out here, but I'm going to say want the Eagles because I'm looking towards the second round for the Eagles to be knocked out. So I think it's Eagles on both my sides of things. All right, next game. This is a big one for the stock.
Yeah.
Big one for the stock market here. Bucks Commanders in Tampa Bay. Huge matchup.
Huge.
Probably little to no defense will be played in this game.
Absolutely.
But they did say that about the Lions and Vikings, so we'll see. Could be surprised. Washington's defense has been a little bit surprising this year. They've played their hearts out. They've played well at times.
Same with Tampa.
Yeah, same with Tampa. Tampa's just kind of like their secondary is like I feel like always injured, and but their offense is like we've talked about incredible. Jaden Daniels, I heard a stat say that like he really just doesn't face a lot of pressure because he just his offensive line is playing pretty okay, and B, like when there is pressure, he just leaves. Yeah. And so, man, this is tough because like I don't hate the Bucks. I've never hated the Bucks. My mom's a Bucks fan. My half my family are big Bucks people. So I really struggle with this one because again, my wants. I do want the Commanders to win this game because I think it'd be really fun for the league if Jaden Daniels just announces himself like this. But I do think the Bucks are going to win this game. So I'll kind of go that route right now. And again, I do think the Bucks kind of benefit the Vikings a little bit in the next round, potentially going to Philadelphia. So I do kind of think the Bucks are going to take care of business. But I really wouldn't be surprised if the Commanders just shoot them out. Like I really don't. It would not be surprising to me at all. So maybe this game's a tough one. I feel like it's one of the tougher ones of the weekend. So.
Oh, I'm telling you, do you have an answer?
Man, no,
I'm still debating.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. I think that for sure. I hope we get another reincarnation of that, like 2019. What was it, Rams-Chiefs game? You remember it was like 51-54. Yeah. Like, give me all the fireworks. Give me all the smoke, dude. I hope we get a show like that. But I think I'm going to this is my second upset. I'm going to go with the Commanders.
Love that.
I'm going to go based off of, I think Dan Quinn is a better coach than Todd Bowles. And I think you also have the wild card with Jaden Daniels. I think his mobility is going to give some issues to the Bucs because their secondary is already super shaky. So I think if they can get that like read option stuff going a little bit, getting the linebackers and safeties to cheat up a little bit, I think Terry McLaurin could have a big game. But I also think it's just going to make things harder for them on the back end. But I think, I'm gonna go Commanders.
Sweet.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with the Commanders here. Both want and think they'll win. I think want because I do agree. I think I want Jane Daniels to get to the next round, but I don't want him to go further past that for stock purposes. Because if I do choose the Commanders, I would like to go into next season. Okay, we not only did we make the playoffs with a rookie QB, we won a game in the playoffs with a rookie QB, and we want to carry that momentum. So for that, I want to go Commanders. Reason why I think they'd win is I agree. I think Jaden Daniels' mobility is gonna really mess with the Bucs. I think obviously the running back, hard nosed, tough power back. So the read options with them is gonna be lethal. Also, Jaden Daniels has proven these last few weeks he doesn't have to just look for Terry. Like he has very much proven the maturity in his game where he'll dump and dive or nickel and dime his way with whoever's open. Kind of like what we're seeing from Josh Allen this year. Like Josh Allen isn't really just targeting one guy. He's like whoever's open is getting the ball.
Yeah.
And so with that maturity that we've seen the last few weeks, I'm just hard pressed to really kind of go against them. Although I think the Bucs are going to be, feisty. They've got the experience. They've got the maturity. They've got a great quarterback back there. Has been to the playoffs. Is upsetted in the playoffs, especially last year.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be. You might see a little shootout here and there, but then you're gonna see some key stops on both sides of the ball.
I'm not gonna lie, you guys have swayed me. I actually, hearing you say those things, I do think the Commanders have more of a chance than I initially thought at the front end of my mind. So I think I'm actually gonna switch my pick. I do because I think I agree with you. I do think Jaden Daniels can potentially just absolutely ruin the game plan for the Bucs.
Yeah. But if the Bucs scheme up something where they contain him they get to him, that's a different story.
But I do think
for anybody.
What you said is true. Is like the Bucs defense really hasn't been playing great at all. They played miserably against the Saints this past weekend, and he has been spreading the ball around like a lot. Like every guy is getting touches. It's basically like what the Packers were doing last year with all their receivers. So I do think that I do, however, still want the Bucs to win. Because that provides a better matchup, I think, in the second round with the Eagles, where the Bucs have been one of the only teams that can have really been messed with them. So I do think that would be a better matchup. But because I honestly, like, if the Commanders win, no matter what team they go to next, I really don't think they can win. Because their options are go to Philadelphia, play them again. That's tough, just division rival. And then in a slim world, you go to Detroit, and it's like, those just aren't good matchups for them. So, all right. Last game of Wildcard Weekend, Monday night, the big one, Vikings at the Rams in LA, 8 p.m. I'm not going to go first on this one.
I'll go first. I think my want and my expectation are the same. And that is that I think the Vikings are going to win this game. Yeah. Yes, the Rams have Matt Stafford. Yes, they have Cooper Kupp. Yes, they have Puka. Yes, they have a solid defense that's been playing really well. That being said, that offense has not really been impressing me the last few weeks with the weapons that they do have. Obviously, Puka had that insane game a couple weeks ago. But outside of that, Cooper Kupp really hasn't been getting involved. Matthew Stafford has looked like a little bit of a shell of himself. Hasn't really looked like the Matt Stafford that we know, the gunslinger that we know. So their offense has not been super impressive to me. And that Vikings defense is for real. Obviously doing what they did to that absolute buzzsaw of Detroit offense, at least in the first half. I think that they might have the edge. Justin Jefferson's probably going to come pissed. Sam Darnold's going to come he needs to prove himself. So I think they have a little bit of chip on their shoulder. I'm almost glad the Vikings lost, get it out of the way in a game that, while yes, held a lot of weight, ultimately you're still in the playoffs. Yeah. You're going to be in the playoffs whether you lost that game, won that game. Yeah. Got that loss out of the way. Guys are going to come, hopefully play angry. I can see the Vikings sneaking away with this.
Okay, yeah. So I think I really want the Vikings to win. I just think
he wants to come back on the pod.
Wait till he gets to his expectation. Yeah, no, but my expectation is I think it kind of lies on what version of Sam Darnold are we going to get? Yeah, because I think that's the $1 million question. I feel like Sam Darnold is the key that makes the Vikings offense go. And when he's on, he's on. He looks like a Pro Bowl. He looks like he is a top 10 guy, but it's okay, it's a new season. You know what I mean? No longer regular season,
Yeah.
the playoffs.
Yeah, everybody's at 0.
And it's like we have never seen playoff Sam Darnold before because he's never been in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I think we've seen playoff Matthew Stafford and the Rams. I think we know what Sean McVay is capable of. We know what Cooper Kupp and Puka can do. But it's like my thing is I don't know what version of Sam we're going to get. And I think the defense can hold up, but it's kind of like with the Lions game. Like defense can only do so much. You know what I mean? Offense is going to have to. So I want the Vikings win, but I think I expect the Rams are going to. It's going to be close, but I think the Rams are just going to gut it out.
Yeah.
That's fair.
No, yeah. I'm like on two ends of the coin. Like what you said, I'm very disappointed because I think if we got the 1 seed, I think we have a exponentially very good chance to get to the Super Bowl. Now that we don't, though, I will say that this is the better route we could have gotten. I would have hated to go to Tampa Bay. That would have sucked.
Oh yeah.
I still don't like playing this Rams team, but that's just the product of like honestly like the NFC being kind of deep in the playoffs right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
They beat us earlier in the season. It was an iffy game for us, but in some calls didn't go our way. But they just beat us, and I'm definitely scared. But at the same time, I agree with you in terms of this is the best route for us right now, honestly. Because listen, we get to go, and we've never been a team like, hey, they beat us early in the season. Now we got like the mental edge over. We're just not. We're not like they're not the Lions. That's what the Lions do. It's not what we do. We've never been that type of team. I will say though, I am happy because like we're going to the Rams instead of the Bucs, who we played earlier in the season, who Kevin O'Connell knows very well. So we have the matchups, and I do think our team is going to be playing kind of pissed. I do think that is probably the worst we see Sam Darnold all year. Which, if you would have told me that at the beginning of the year, I would have laughed at you. But I agree. First time we haven't seen him see ghosts all year, and he saw a ghost. And so I agree. If that Sam Darnold shows up again, that's gonna be tough. Hopefully the Lions didn't show the Rams what to do against us, because that would suck. But if we do win this game, again, high likelihood we go to Detroit, and I want that rematch because I'm a big component of like it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. We've been the only team to really keep it close to the Lions outside of the Bucs beating them earlier in the season, and so. I do think that's the best matchup for us. I do not want to go to Philadelphia, like at all. So if somehow the Bucs can win and we can win, send the Bucs up there, let them kill each other, and send us to Detroit. So obviously, like what I want. I want the Vikings to win. I'm setting my expectations back down to reality though. I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams beat us. Like I've just seen this. I've seen this play too many times. So I do think I'm gonna play my heart here. I do want us to win. I do think we will win. I do think we have been the better team all season, and we are the better team. Yeah. But sometimes the better team just doesn't win, and that's my expectation. So
That's fair.
We'll see. But that's Wildcard Weekend, boys. That is a good lineup. So right now, for the most part, a lot of our picks are the same. Outside of Ethan, we both have the Vikings. With our picks right now, because we both have the Commanders winning and the Vikings winning. So that would send the Commanders up to Philadelphia. That would send the Vikings to Detroit for 2 divisional rivalry matchups in divisional weekend to go to the NFC Championship game. And then in the AFC, that produces the Chargers what are they? They're the 5th seed officially, right? So the Ravens will be going up to Buffalo, and the Chargers will be going out to KC, another divisional matchup. That's going to be lots of fun. I do think that honestly is the most... I actually think the only team that makes that the most ideal scenario for the NFL slate is if the Bucs actually go to Philly. I do think the NFL wants the Bucs in Philly because that's better. I think, while I do think the Commanders can compete, again, they've barely they're just a little brother to this Eagles team.
Yeah, they realistically, the Washington probably should have lost that second game as well.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
They really pulled one out their pants right there. So.
And, Jane Daniels balling.
He really did. So
didn't let them get the ball in overtime either.
Yeah. So that's good stuff. We're gonna get into more of what we think. Just off rip with these playoff teams before we get out of here. Who's your Super Bowl matchup?
I'm probably gonna go Buffalo, Philadelphia.
Okay, so you got Buffalo eking out KC. You think they're beating KC, or you think KC's losing in the second round by some whimsical?
Man, that's tough. I want to see KC and Buffalo in the championship, playing in KC and Josh.
You want to see Josh Allen finally get over the hump?
Yes,
Excellent.
I want to see it. I'm going to be rooting
That'd be a great
for
game,
it.
Buffalo and Philly. That'd be.
And I think Philly. I think Philly makes it out of the NFC.
Ethan, as our guest, I'll give you last. So I think, obviously, I want the Vikings to get there. Do I think they will? No. I think it'll probably be the Lions and Buffalo. That's like my heart, my want. I think Casey. Listen, I go into this every time. We talk about this every time. I think Casey gets its got.
I wish KC was going through Buffalo and Baltimore.
I agree.
I hate that they're getting the Cape. Now I don't want to say cupcake because the Chargers nor the
Steelers or the Broncos.
Steelers, even Broncos aren't necessarily like a cupcake game, but out of the two options, like I want to see them go through Baltimore and go through Buffalo.
I think we see a great upset in with the Chargers in Kansas City.
Wow, that's a lot.
I'm calling it now. I'm putting my name on it.
Hey, I'll subscribe.
I'm putting my name on it. I'm stamping it down.
Yeah.
So that's my pick.
Yeah. So I guess my AFC pick, I'm going to go Buffalo. I think this is the year they kind of figure it out. I think Chargers upset them. I think they get there. But my dark horse is the Commanders.
Okay. Hey, I love this.
I love
this
because I think Jaden Daniels just like takes his game to another level, and like the defense is playing well. Like I think they just figure it out. But I think they get there, but they're just kind of like, oh, we're happy to be here. But I think Buffalo beats them. But I think like Jaden Daniels is like, hey, I'm a guy too. Yeah. I think this playoffs is a perfect opportunity for him to kind of cement himself as, hey, like I'm not just a rookie. Like I might be the best rookie QB of all time. You know,
he would be he
awesome.
definitively would be the only rookie to start at the beginning of the season to bring his team to a championship game.
That'd be
in
insane.
the NFL.
Also, just big Haley Steinfeld guy. So wouldn't mind seeing Buffalo there.
We just had to throw that out there one more time in case you didn't hear it the first time. But that's going to do it for us here. We will be back most likely next Tuesday after the Monday game wraps up. That is the plan as of right now. We will be doing a fantasy wrap-up episode here soon, whether that's in the midst of the playoffs, whether that's after the playoffs. We're looking forward to the next year. We also will have a draft episode. Might see some different faces on the pod come through on the NFL feed. And also, as soon as that's going to end, we are getting ripe into the basketball season. All-Star break is coming upon us very soon. And so that's like second or third week of February, I think.
Yep.
Yeah. So we'll be getting to that like right around Super Bowl time. So listen to if you're big basketball fans out there, we are too. And we've got lots of hot basketball takes. We probably get more into it on basketball than we ever do on football.
We'll get into it again. Like on football, we agree on a lot of takes.
We do.
Basketball's a very different story.
Very different.
Very heated conversation.
There's lots of.
That being said, we do need to wrap this up because WWE's on Netflix. And your boy's got to catch the show.
Oh my God! All right, whatever. That's gonna do it for us here at the house. Thanks for coming around. Thanks for hanging with us. We'll catch y'all next week. Peace.